Welcome back, everybody. So this is a kind of an overview of a project I've been working on for several months. Back in late 2019, when I was debating about putting my house on the market and started kind of packing things up and looking to see what's out there and kind of see how I'm going to finagle this, one of the problems I had was the cost of actual moving, since I don't have a lot of help, and of course moving's quite a bit expensive. So in order to make some of that cost up, I sadly had to part ways with pieces of my game collection as well as two arcade cabinets. So I ended up selling my Fighting Vipers arcade cabinet, which went to a very good friend of mine. I'm still able to go over and play that game, and as part of the agreement, I still do maintenance on that one. So that one's not much of one that I have to worry about missing so much, as I know the person who actually took it off my hands. The second one was to get rid of the JAMA cab that I had set up with the Atomus Wave that I also used and swapped out for my CPS2 arcade boards. I wanted to keep the systems, and I was thinking, well, if I'm getting rid of the giant full-size arcade cabinets, maybe I could look into doing a 3/4 scale cabinet that I could put together, that's a little bit bigger than the arcade one-up cabinets that you see these days, but would allow me to both use game consoles and swap over to arcade PCBs if I wanted to. All I would need to do is basically get all the pieces and parts and figure out how I'm going to actually get this to work the way I want it to. So this is kind of a halfway point. Of course, the console side is very easy to do. All I need is a basic monitor of some sort with an HDMI input with some adapters for older systems, and wire in or get the universal fight board, which I have, which I can wire up actual arcade controls, like Sanwa buttons or a Sanwa JLF or a Saimitsu, or even wire like a hap stick, hap competition stick to have the authentic arcade parts if I wanted, and wire that in and use USB to access an Xbox 360 or a PS3 or any of the new systems coming forward that may be compatible with those. For the arcade part, however, it's a little more difficult because not only do you need the JAMA harness, the controls, wire it all up, you also need an amp for the sound, you need the power supply, and all this stuff to really make that work. So it was like, okay, do I do two separate systems in a sense? Do I get two cabinets, one dedicated again for arcade PCBs that's smaller, and one for consoles? But after thinking it for a while, it's very possible for me to do both consoles and arcades and kind of swap those out pretty easily. It's just going to take, a couple minutes to kind of swap between or pull out the boards or whatever I need to do. So uh, at this point, I figured out a way to both use the same control setup. So I can still use an Xbox 360 or a PS3 control setup scheme and be able to run that between or swap them between a console and the arcade PCBs. And I'm going to share that here with you soon. So I hope at some point, once I find a new place to move into and I get that cabinet built, I can show off the full project, which I'm really excited for. I've pretty much got it all planned out and designed the way I want it. Now it's just coming up with a way to obtain it, and create that. So for now, though, we'll jump over and I will show you this setup using a Supergun, which is an adapter that most people or most arcade enthusiasts really use them mostly for testing, but it does allow you to connect it to arcade PCBs that are JAMA based and run it on a modern monitor for you, with some other interesting extras along the way. So we're going to move over to that, and I'll show you the overview of my Supergun setup. So I apologize, this is going to be a little bit messy. I've had to move over to my camera on my phone to kind of get this. It's the easiest way to really do. I don't have a normal camera to easily do this with. So what you're looking at right now is my Street Fighter 4 arcade stick that I use for my Xbox 360. This is integral because this is about the only piece at the moment that I have to actually control this with. As we go down the line here, I'll give kind of a wide shot, but this is basically everything for the Supergun. I'll go into some detail here, starting with, of course, the important part, the power supply. This is a standard ATX power supply. This is a 750 watt, which is kind of overkill. Really, you only need about a 550 watt. This was pulled out of an old PC of mine that I had laying around, which still functions and works really well because it is fully modular, so I don't have all the extra cables and everything. This is just the main power line coming out of the power supply that powers the Supergun. So of course here we have the Thomas Wave with the interchangeable carts. Right now I have King of Fighters 11 in there, which I just obtained if you saw my last pickup video. And this here is the actual Supergun itself. This is the Parsec version 2.1. This thing was really difficult to get. I tried 2 times prior to get it, and this thing sells out really fast. The guy makes this by hand. If you do a Google search, you'll be able to find it. It is a little on the pricey side, but for what you pay for is actually really good. There's several different builds to this. And he also provides a way for you to actually take the board itself and you can solder on all the various pieces that you want. But just as kind of a quick overview here, you can see this is the power cable coming out of the power supply that plugs in. Up here we have, I've actually got one of the deluxe boards. There's a higher one here, but this one has a VGA output. But on the side here we have sound coming out. This also does have a regular video cable. There's an S video cable, and it also takes the Sega Genesis AV cables, so you can get RGB out. With the deluxe version, up here at the top of the 3, you would only have for your component cables. So you would have your green, your red, and your blue. In here, we have various little switches. This is a for mono or stereo sound. This is for the 5 volt if you need it, which in most cases for what I'm running for the Thomas Wave and the CPS2, they don't require that +5, so I leave that off. Over here we have your test service buttons, coin 1 and 2 for players. This little white one input here is actually for the kick harness for CPS2 games. Up here we have the dip switches, which allow you to turn on and off various buttons. So for all 6, I have active, which I don't really need for the Thomas Wave. I can turn off that 6th one, but I can activate buttons 4 and 5, which are all controlled through the JAMA here. We have some pots here for RGB. Normally, if you were coming off with SCART or something, you would use that. Of course, the power button. These are interesting here. This is for player 1 and 2. These are your normal pinouts for your Neo Geo, as most of our guns end up using the Neo Geo, either like for the AES or the Neo Geo CD controller is actually really good. Unfortunately, I don't own any Neo Geo CDs, so I had to go with the undammed DB15 to USB adapters. These I was actually waiting for. I just got this in. This was kind of like my final piece that I was missing. These are very hard to get. I actually contacted the guy who makes this himself, and thankfully he had a couple on hand. I do have one for player 2, so I'm pretty much set for that. If I have a friend that comes over, I can actually play arcade games with 2 players, which is really fun. But these particular adapters plug right in. They are wired for the Neo Geo pinout, but allows you to use the Xbox 360 or the PS3 arcade sticks. And I think, I don't know if this is correct or not, but they may use the pads. I haven't tested it yet. But that's the reason why I have this guy out here. It works great. All the buttons automatically map over. They're converted in, and it actually runs this. So right now I have it turned off, but we'll turn this thing on. I have it currently. The one fun thing about the Thomas Wave is I can actually run this through VGA, which gives a higher resolution to it. I had problems earlier. I had it plugged into here, and the screen would just flash and see a picture momentarily, but it wouldn't quite come on and stay on. So after I figured out the dip switch over here, I just flipped that through the VGA directly into the Thomas Wave, and I had picture. Sound is actually going to my, I have some PC speakers over here that connect. So I got this long cable coming across here. That's what plugs in right here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit this little power button here. Yep. So we get lights on, the signal that we have power. Power supply's kicked in, and you can hear the fan's a little loud in this thing. I do have a replacement fan that I'd like to eventually drop in here, and I haven't gotten around to that right now. But we come up here to the screen, and we actually have a picture. We should have sound here in just a moment when this comes in. It always takes a while for these things to actually boot up. There we go. Turn that up a little bit. Well, there we have it. A full working Thomas Wave that I can use that is compatible with a normal PC monitor, which is great. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to hit this. One cool thing is I don't actually have to hit the coin button. It's insert coins, of course. Hold on a second. We're going to go over here. We got the test in. I should be able to use the controls to... Yep, there we go. We'll hit A. There, now it's set to free play. So, there. And again, I was controlling it completely all from my 360 arcade stick. So we'll let it reboot. And we'll hit start here on the control stick. And of course, I have it in Japanese. I don't know why. I can flip it to English, but I think I was playing around with that. And there we go. I don't know for sure. I might have... If I go down to whip and I hold start... Nope. There's usually passcodes for King of Fighters 11 that you can put in for secret characters, and I don't have that activated right now. But, yeah. Oh, there's Vanessa. And then we also want to... Yeah, we'll go with Mary, why not? Since we're just kind of fooling around. Somewhere around here, there's Terry. And unfortunately, my adapters are all already packed away. Otherwise, I would actually run this through my Elgato and actually stream it. But at the moment, that's not possible for me. So, but here we go. Supergun's working great. I'm able to play King of Fighters just fine, as if I was sitting at an actual arcade cabinet. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're looking to play arcade games and you don't have room for the cabinet, this is a great alternative. Like I said, these are a little tricky to get a hold of, but if you're looking for information, feel free to reach out to me. Hopefully I'll be able to continue that, and someday when I am able to find a new place to hang out at, I can build that arcade cabinet I want, and we'll revisit this again and see how it turns out. Again, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.